the Environment Group was formed about 5 years ago, and it's the moving force behind Kirkbymoorside being a transition town, sort of transition to a low carbon economy. And so in the Environment Group has is sort of behind the different teams that are the transition towns, the transport team and the energy and building group. It was split into different groups to try and sort of achieve more. The thermal imaging camera is a project of the energy and building group. Last year we applied for a grant from the National Lottery and to do various things that we'd like to do, and the thermal imaging camera is one of the things that we've bought that grant.
Before we move on to looking at the camera, could you sort of explain a little bit about transition towns? There might well be people who are watching this who don't really know what it is. And is Kirkby actually a transition town? Is it sort of signed up, or is it on its way? Or
Kirkbymoorside is a registered transition town, and that means that sort of there are people in the town who are interested in moving towards a low carbon economy. That's what it means. And transition towns have, in order to register, you go through a sort of a checklist of different things that you're trying to work towards. You tend to have a sort of a hub and then different groups that take on sort of different aspects of moving towards low carbon living. It might be to do with food production, and to do with energy, to do with transport, to do with education, all sorts of different, and to do with how people feel about change. There's lots of different sides to it, and different towns, every town is different, different towns take it in a different way. It's not just in this country. I forget the number of transition towns that there are internationally, but I think it's over, into the hundreds now.
And the whole transition town movement has been driven by the potential fuel crisis that, is it Rob Hopkins who set it up? And that's been the kind of driving force behind it, that concern about that we're going to run out of fuel. So get prepared.
It's the joint things about running out of fuel and the impact of global warming. So it's those two things, and some people are more concerned about one and some more about the other, but it's those are the two driving forces really, about trying to work towards a way of living that uses less fuel or uses renewable energy, and also which reduces the human impact on the planet. That's what it's about. Yeah.
So how would you say that it's been going in Kirkby so far, the Environment Group, and that movement towards becoming a transition town?
Some things go really well, and other things we get very little response. It's not always easy to measure, because you might organise a meeting and not many people come, but it doesn't mean that a lot of people aren't actually concerned about an issue. It's just that people haven't got time to come to a meeting. Things like the give and take days go really well. So it's a sort of it's a mixture really.
But you've got a good number of people who are involved in the different committees you've been talking about.
We'd like more. I think we feel we could probably achieve more if each of the teams that we've got had more active people involved.
Right.
It might just be a couple of hours, a month, or just a little bit of extra people's different ideas, or just not necessarily come to meetings. Sometimes we communicate more by email or by phone, or just by sort of meeting in the coffee shop and discussing ideas and then taking things forward. So it's not necessarily formal. We tend to be quite informal, really.
So we'll put the contact details of you on the blog, and so if anybody wants to get involved, they can. So let's have a look at the thermal imaging camera now, which is a big success for you, really, because you had to go for a lottery grant to get this.
That's right. It's £2,000 worth, and it's very neat. It's so small and neat. I was expecting a great big thing, but it's not.
How did the idea come about to get this camera? Where did that come from?
It was as Helen was saying, some of the things that we've been trying to do and support are things that are going on in the town and that people are wanting to do, which is to save the amount of energy they're using and the cost of it for everybody. Fuel poverty is a huge problem, and a lot of people are finding that they're just heat's just draining away, especially if you're living in an area like this where there are lots of stone houses that are very old and leaky windows and that kind of thing.
And fuel prices rocketing.
Fuel prices are so high, so it's just trying to do things that will conserve energy and help people in that way. And then as a town, as part of the transition town movement anyway, that everybody's then, as an individual, they're doing things that are sort of helping themselves and using less, and it's costing them less. But as a town too, you're becoming a bit more self-sufficient, a bit less, dependent on energy, and just hoping that it's one small bit of part of the movement to using less energy on the planet, I suppose.
Yeah.
But without imposing ways of doing it on people. It's everybody's trying to do the same thing. And so what we thought would be nice would be, because people often don't know what their houses are like, they don't know where to start, and before you start putting, solar panels and things on, sometimes people say, well, actually, it's drafty, it's cold, and I keep having to put the heating up, and I don't know whether or not I've got leaks coming through my walls or not on my back door, and we put the request for the grant in so that we could use this for people, just to say, what in your house would you like to know more about, so we can take pictures outside the house of the doors and the windows. And as I'll show you in a minute, what you get is you get an image on the screen. If you're outside, it shows you where the heat's actually leaking out, so you can just take a picture of the door. And I think, as you can see, this is a picture of my door. And there's a really anonymous, it could be anybody's door, but that's my door, and my goodness, it's leaking a lot of heat around it and various things.
Right.
So by taking any images that people would like, we only take what people would like us to take, and then send them the images. We can either email them or print them off, and then they belong to the householder, not to us.
But actually, it really makes sense to do this before doing anything expensive like putting on solar panels, which are obviously thousands of pounds, because if you're leaking,
something's going to be done much more cheaply. Very.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the alternative side of things is really important, but the basics are actually insulation and windows and things. I know it costs a lot of money, but people can think, what can I do? And we found there's a survey was done in 2008 of the private sector housing in Kirkby, and I think one of the figures that it was done for the whole of Rydale, but we've got some figures for Kirkby as well, which are useful, just some stats. But I think in Rydale it's around 50% of the houses from the survey. They found only about 50% had got adequate, if you like, draft exclusion, and which is some figure really. Whereas a lot more people had got things like roof insulation or got double glazing and things, but the figure for just drafts was pretty poor.
And that is really low cost, isn't it?
Yeah. So curtains and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, used inside. If somebody wants us to use the camera just in their rooms, then we can do that just by pointing the camera, as I show you, at windows or whatever, and either just showing or taking a picture. And the camera's brilliant because what it does is it's got a kind of cross hatch in the middle of the screen, which and then that gives you the temperature, exactly what that temperature is where the crosshair is. But at the bottom of the screen it shows you the temperature range in that whole screen. So you know that, okay, the temperature there is from X to Y, but right there it's a different, whatever temperature it is. So you get ranges going from something like 10 or 11 in a room to 25 or something, and in a corner it's 11 and yet the heating's right up, and you know that there's lots of heat going out through a crack somewhere or something.
Well, let's try it out in this house. This house was built in 1600, and and if I just turn the camera around, we'll see that we have a fireplace there, an open fireplace, and so I would imagine that is going to
Right, let me get my
indicate.
glasses on so that I can read the screen.
So you're pointing that at this fireplace.
And as we're inside, what we're looking at is where it's blue, that means that's the coldest. Now the range here, just on this, the actual infrared camera, where it's pointing in this area, it ranges from 9 to 17 degrees. Centigrade.
Right.
And down there, in that corner, that is 8.8, 9. So you can see that's the coldest bit there. And you can see, if you look around the walls, you can see where it's cold a lot. They're up to the lamp and the light. And where it's white hot there, that's why it's gone blue, because it's the contrast. What you've got is, you've got contrast. The colours give you the contrast. From blue being the coldest to red and then white heat. So up there we've got 11 to 19 degrees. And that's the mirror we're looking at the moment, with a cold patch underneath. And then it will show that it flips into blue light, warm with the fabric, and the corner behind there you can see in the corner it's 11.7 there.
Okay, well, it just interpret some of these results then in the sense of what I would need to do. I mean, it seems obvious to me that when you have a fireplace like this, you've got a tremendous amount of heat loss going up that chimney. So is it part of your job to say, the solution to that would be?
No, one of the things that we're trying to do is to say we're not trained or we're not experts in any way at all.
Right.
But what we can do is leave you the images, and you've got the facts there of what the range is and where the heat is leaving. And we give you the telephone number of a sort of independent non-government organisations, the energy saving.
Yorkshire Energy Partnership.
So you've got a number there.
Right.
And if there's anything then as a householder that you want to do, they can give you advice.
Okay.
Use this as a tool, as a sort of preliminary to find out where the main heat is escaping. And by using this inside, you get the blue patches and the low temperatures, which is where it's going out. And you can hold it out in front of a window, and you can see where it's leaking.
Right.
And what's fascinating with windows is that sometimes, even with double glazing, you get what looks like a super double glazed window, but where it's been set in to the wall, if it hasn't been set in quite right, you've got a leak all the way around the edge. And sometimes people have got a problem there. They know, they said, I can feel a draft there, or it feels like it's...
Well, we've just put double glazing in at the front of the house now, and we feel it's made a huge difference. Can we draw the curtains now and test them out?
Fascinating things there is that you can see we can see the reflection of us in the glass, and that is our heat bouncing off the glass, which is amazing. So if we look there, the range of the temperature over, if you compare the walls now there, which is 15, your warmest is where your curtains were, going across there, 15, it's still 15, 15, 15, past the curtains, which are warmer, and onto the wall, which is actually cooler. So you've got there, you're not leaking a lot of heat, as far as I can see, through the window there.
Oh, good.
And then you've got the warmth of the wooden beam there, along the top. And the bluest part's the coolest part in the room. And often we find that the coolest bits are down, sometimes up there, and they can't tell because of the light there.
Yeah.
You can see down there, down into the corner there by the radiator. The radiator's glowing red and white there in comparison. Look, you've got a temperature there, 45 degrees. So that's the radiator burning away there. And then the wall around 19, 18. And so this is cooler all around here, but you haven't got, it's difficult to tell, but you haven't got, except just down there, that goes down to 12.
Underneath the window?
Underneath the window there. Now, is that a slider?
Yeah.
So you've got, that's 12.6 there.
Right.
Just there with the slider, see?
Yeah.
And then
The window that we didn't have double glazing put in because it's so huge, for one thing. So I imagine
it's down to, you've got 11, 10. Yes, it's much, much colder.
yeah.
Up there, it's all in the 12, 11. This looks like a cold corner. 10.2 down there. So,
So much colder than the other window.
Much colder than the other window.
Hence the heavy duty curtain.
Yeah, and heavy duty curtains make an incredible look. That was down to 9 there. Look, you've got 9. That's going 9.8.
That bottom corner.
That bottom corner.
Right.
Now, what I can do now, is I haven't done it before, and I forgot to do it before, is just take that picture and it freezes, and that's what somebody would get.
And it's so brilliant. You could just email it to them.
And then you just email it.
And you can, if you haven't got a computer or a printer, we can print it out. So
right.
Just send you the image.
Okay.
Have you got double glazing on that little window on your door?
Yes.
Well, that's, so you can see that actually there's more heat coming out from the wood there around than there is around the little window.
Right.
And there's your letterbox. So there's heat coming out of your letterboxes, that's red.
Okay.
And look at those now, that's where we've got 3 degrees, we've got a range here outside of 3 degrees to 9 degrees. And you can see, if I just take that picture there, is that showing clearly?
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea of where the main leak is. Okay, so you can see the heat coming through the letterbox. This is an interesting one here, because there's your slider, and you can see where a bit of heat's coming out from the slider.
Yeah.
So, because now we're outside, remember we're looking for red, which is we're looking for the reddest, which is the warmest. Now the walls are cold.
But there's a bit of red coming around that middle pane.
Around that slider.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they're
good.
They're working.
Here we are at the window that we did from the inside.
Yeah. And here you've got.
Whoa.
Look how much is just pouring out of there.
Oh my goodness! Look how red it is.
Yeah. But basically, it's going from 3 to your. Oh, you've got a vent there. Whereabouts is that?
It's just below the window.
Right. I wonder if that's having any effect.
Well,
there's a bit of steam about, but basically you're going from. It's now indicating 4. Yeah. But you can see immediately the difference.
Yep.
So there.
So instead of on the front windows where it was double glazed, it was tiny little slivers of red. Here we've got great big panes of red.
Yes. In that room there.
That's the downstairs loo, which we didn't change the windows. Yeah.
And that's basically.
Yeah.
You've got the range of temperature there is from 4 to 10, and you've got that's the hottest thing. The window is the hottest thing.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So here we are in a bedroom, and can you just explain that sort of the problem, because we were just outside, but now we've got you in the light. Just to explain the problem of using this camera on roofs outside and what the alternative is.
Right. It's sometimes easier to see inside if there's heat escaping, because when you try and use the camera on a roof outside, if you're holding the camera up against the sky, because the sky in outer space is so cold that the whole house suddenly looks as if it's red in contrast. It just looks incredibly warm in contrast. So all you see is a red house, and you can't actually see the finer detail of the roof.
Right.
So it can be a bit tricky to do that. We've tried holding the camera up very carefully, trying to not show the sky, but of course the minute you move it up over the ridgeline, the infrared camera will pick up the cold from outer space.
So the alternative is to come inside up to a bedroom.
If that is helpful, but one of the things that we've been stressing to people is that we'll just take any images they want, and we certainly don't want to intrude on anybody's privacy. So we only go upstairs if people say, please, when you come upstairs.
Yes, because it is interesting to know what's happening in your roof space, because obviously a lot of heat can be lost through your roof. So you're pointing up at the ceiling. How can you interpret what we're seeing here then?
And stressing again, we're not experts, we're not training, we're just using this.
Yeah.
You can see that obviously that's the coolest corner, along that edge there. The wall is cool.
This is an outside wall, yep.
Along there, especially where the ceiling hits the wall, meets the wall, which is always edges where things join up with it, and in corners like that.
Yeah.
You can see that, and then.
So that might be where your insulation isn't tucked in or goes right up to the edge. I don't
know. I don't know what's behind there. What you can see here is the red. The click, by the way, is when the camera calibrates itself. That's the warmth from the radiator.
Yeah.
So what you've got there is you've got your radiator there. That's the warmth on the. And then cooling as you're going along.
Right.
And you can actually see probably. There, because that's looking at the roof, it looks like you've got, that's part of the construction of the roof where you've got sections.
Yes.
It's difficult to tell. Anyway, that just gives you a bit of an idea.
And then the window, not leaking too much.
The window, not with the blind, just around the edges.
Yeah, just around the edges. Good.
There, and that's, I'll take a picture of that because that's. Would you like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's again what you're getting in this room. It's 12 to 18 range, or on this particular section, 12 to 18, and the coldest is coming through around the edges of the blind.
Well, that's been really interesting going around my house, and obviously there are some really leaky spots that I need to address. Particularly the letterbox, perhaps putting a curtain in front of the front door, because I saw just how much heat was leaking out of the front door. And I guess also really simple things like, as it starts to get cold towards the end of the day, draw your curtains early on, because they immediately start conserving.
Straight away.
Yeah. And when we can afford it, change the windows or put secondary glazing in on those windows that we haven't got double glazed. So that's been really great. I'm sure other people watching this film will want to take the opportunity of using your skills and the camera. How would they go about it, and does it cost anything at all, Hannah?
What they have to do is just give us a ring. We can give an email address and a phone number.
Right.
We don't charge, but there are costs for us. We have to insure it, and it's going to have to be recalibrated every year. So if anybody would like to make a donation towards our visit, that would be really welcome.
Right.
We have to come with the camera, accompany the camera, because it's quite expensive. But the images that we have, we can email to people, or we can print them out, and they're your images, and then they're deleted. As far as we're concerned, so they belong to the household that we've taken the pictures of. And
the people who can take up this opportunity, primarily they're people in Kirkbymoorside, but if you live outside the area, to contact you to see if it's available, would that be the best way?
That's probably the best way, yes. Yeah, the lottery grant was for the camera for Kirkbymoorside, but obviously we want it to be well used.
Kirkbymoorside and district.
Kirkbymoorside and district, yes.
That's right. So the district.
But we do want it to be well used, yes.
Great.
It probably needs to be used in the winter in a different temperature, different between inside and outside. So we need to try and get it used as much as possible in the winter, where there's a big difference between people's inside and outside the home.
Right. So the next couple of months.
Sooner rather than later.
Get in touch.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you very much to
Thanks
both
very
of you
much.
for coming along.
Right,
thank you.